So hello and welcome class. So this is Engineering Economics and I'm Engineer Ronjon Argarmi. So today we will have additional problems on basic methods for making economic studies. So for our learning objectives, at the end of the session, you will be able to discuss an investment scenario using basic methods of economic study and then interpret an investment scenario and apply basic methods of making economic study. And then lastly, evaluate the feasibility of an investment scenario using basic methods of economic study. So basic methods for making economic studies is purposively to determine the economic feasibility of an investment. So we wanted to ensure here that we will make a good investment so that we can gain an income. So it answers the question, is your investment a wise choice? So these basic methods also enables gauging your investment and improve our decision making skills. Okay, so when we make decisions, of course, we wanted a good basis. And that good basis will be acquired through scientific method. And that scientific methods is the basic methods for making economic studies itself. So here, the basic method also allows monitoring investment at various stages, whether you have the pre-implementation, during implementation, and after completion of your project or your business. So the data we need are the cash inflows as well as the cash outflows. We compare both so that we can decide whether we will make an adjustment or we just terminate your investment. So cash flow includes income, the net income, or the annual revenues that we can obtain from your business or your project. And for the cash outflows, this includes depreciation, operations and maintenance costs, taxes and insurance, and the like. So cash inflows also include the salvage value that can be acquired after the useful life of a certain machine or capital investment. So basic methods is also allows a justification for a good investment. So it is the means to justify a good investment. So another purpose of basic methods is to determine the length of time to recover the first cost of investment. So the basic methods itself are the following. We have first the rate of return ROR method, the annual worth method, the present worth method, the future worth method, and the payback or payout period method. So ROR method, the rate of return is the amount you receive after the cost of an initial investment calculated in the form of a percentage. The percentage can be reflected as a positive, which is considered a gain or profit. When the percentage is negative, it reflects a loss. This information is very useful in determining whether or not the initial investment you made was a good one. The net ROR has the formula equal to net annual profit all over the capital invested, wherein the net annual profit is equal to the annual revenue minus the annual cost. So take note, our reference here in the cash flow are the annual cost. That is why we just subtract the revenues collected annually less the annual cost, which consists of depreciation, taxes, and maintenance costs. So in here, the interest on capital is excluded in the computation of the annual cost. So next basic method is the annual worth method. So this is commonly used for comparing alternatives. Annual worth means that all incomes and disbursement, whether irregular and uniform, are converted into an equivalent uniform annual end of period amount, which is the same each period. In here, interest on original investment is included as an annual cost. So this is the same as in ROR. The only difference is we just add interest on the interest of the original cost as capital. Now, if cash inflows minus cash outflows is greater than zero, then this investment is justified. Otherwise, your investment would not be good. Next is the present worth method. This is quite popular in the industry because all future costs and revenues are transformed to equivalent monetary units now. That is, all the future cash flows are converted to present amounts at a specific rate of return. So this is simply the difference between the present worth of cash inflows less the present worth of cash outflows. It should be greater than zero so that investment is justified. So important notes here, depreciation is excluded. Then we have the future worth method. So this is an analysis based on some future point in time, which is called the future worth analysis. So in here, we tend to maximize the future worth of benefits or other outputs. We minimize the future worth of costs or other inputs, costs, or maximize the net future worth. So similar to that of the present worth method, it is just the difference of cash inflows and cash outflows. If the future worth of cash inflows minus the future worth of cash outflows would be greater than zero, then your investment is justified. So similar to that of the present worth method, depreciation here is excluded. So the next method is the payback period method. The payback period is the time required to earn back the amount invested in an asset from its net cash flows produced by that investment for an interest rate of zero. It is a simple way to evaluate the risk associated with a proposed project. Payback period method is an investment with a shorter payback period is considered to be better since the investor's initial capital outlay is at risk for a shorter period of time. So basically, we wanted to recover your capital in a shorter period of time. So the payback or payout period formula is equal to the original cost minus your useful life or the salvage value divided by the net annual cash flow. So let us move on to the problem. So here, an investment of 270,000 pesos can be made in a project that will produce a uniform annual revenue of 185,400 for 5 years. Then have a salvage value of 10% of the investment. Out-of-pocket costs for operation and maintenance will be 81,000 pesos per year. Taxes and insurance will be 4% of the first cost per year. Then the company expects capital to earn not less than 25% before income taxes. So actually 25% is the desired rate of interest for the company to consider. Okay? So the question, is this a desirable investment? And what is the payback period of this investment? So as a solution, first, we have the ROR method. So of course, we consider the annual revenue in here to be equal to 185,400. So this is the annual collection of the investment. And then the annual cost. We have the depreciation. This is done by sinking fund method. So this is equal to CO minus CL divided by finding F given A at I% at the useful life L. So this is equal to 270,000 is the original cost. Now the salvage value is set to be 10% of this 270,000. So that will be equal to 27,000. So we divide that by this notation, finding F given A, 25% at 5. So this is equal to the difference on the numerator, 243,000 divided by the result from that notation. We have 8.2070. So that will be equal to 29,609 pesos. So this will be the calculated depreciation for that project. So for the operations and maintenance, we have 81,000 for that. So this is the out-of-pocket costs. And then for the taxes and insurance, so the tax is set to be 4% of the first cost per year. So therefore, the first cost is equal to 270,000 times 0.04. So that will be equal to 10,800 pesos. So we sum all of this, we have 121,409 pesos. And that is our total annual cost. So the net annual profit will just have to get the difference of the annual collection or the income less the total annual cost. So basically that is equal to 63,991 pesos. So we have calculated that net annual profit because it will be part or it will be a data necessary in the calculation of the rate of return. So rate of return is equal to net annual profit all over capital invested. So ROR is equal to, we just substitute 63,991 divided by 270,000 times 100. And that will be equal to 23.7%. Now, the desired percentage is equal to 25%. So, the result of ROR is less than that of the desired percentage. So, therefore, since ROR is less than 25%, then the investment is not justified. So, putting that into the cash flow diagram, we have 5 years, and then we denote the annual revenues or the income collected per year, which is equal to 1,000 or 185,400 pesos. And then we denote a yearly 21,609 pesos and the 81,000 pesos as well as 10,800. So all of this annual cost will sum to 121,409 pesos. So getting the difference of these upwards or cash inflows to that of the cash outflows, which is 121,409, we will yield to a net income or net annual cost or net cash flow of 63,991 pesos. So of course, in here, 185,000 is greater than 121,000. So therefore, the upward or this will be a net wherein we can say that this is an earnings because we have an upward arrowhead. So by this, first ROR will be computed to be 23.7%. Okay. So we solve the same problem, this time by the annual worth method. So basically, we do the same. We list the annual revenue because this is the cash inflow, that is 185,400. And the annual cost by depreciation using sinking fund method. Of course, we'll calculate that one to be equal to 29,609 pesos. And then for the operations and maintenance, we have 81,000 pesos. And then taxes and insurance, we have 270,000, the first cost, times 4%. That is equal to 10,800 pesos. And then the interest on capital, we have 270,000 times 0.25 pesos. Now take note, as presented, include that and yield to 67,500 pesos. Now we total all of this as our annual cost, which is 188,909. So this is now the total annual cost. Now you can see the difference on that of the first method ROR. So what is now included here is the interest on the capital. So basically, we'll just have to compute for the excess of the annual revenue to that of the annual cost. So the excess is equal to 185,400 minus 188,909. So this will yield to negative 3,509 pesos. So negative indicates that the investment is not justified. So putting that into cash flow diagram. So we have the same for the cash inflows. This is the collection actually. And the cash outflows, 21,609, 81,000, 10,800, and 67,500. So this will yield to 188,909. And then the net annual cost will be the difference between this one. Of course, that would be equal to 3,509 pesos. So this time, your cash flow indicates that we have a downward cash flow of 3,000, meaning that is undesirable for a net amount. So since excess is negative, then the investment is not justified. Now using the present worth method, we put that into the cash flow. So in here, we have an annual income collection of 1,000 or 185,400 pesos. So at the end of the 5th year, we have the salvage value of 27,000 pesos. So this is actually the annual revenues. And here we have 270,000 times 0.04, which is the taxes and insurances. 81,000 pesos is for your operations and maintenance, so that the sum of these 81,000 and 10,800 will be equal to 91,800 pesos. Now, let us not forget that we have an initial investment going downward, that is 270,000 pesos. So this is the first cost or the capital invested on the beginning of the year. So as a matter of our method for the present worth, we draw a line on the zero for the present time, and then these annual revenues will be backwarded to the present by annotation of annuity of our inflow times finding P given A 25% at 5. So we do the same for the salvage value at the end of the 5th year. So that this will be brought to the present time by the notation F times finding P given F at 25% at 5. Now for this one, which is the net annual cost, we will bring that to the present, say by the notation annuity of the outflow times finding P given A 25% at 5. Now we just perform the summation of the cost on the present time. This will be the present worth. So we have the present worth of cash inflow, all of the amounts that are brought to the present with an upward arrowhead or upward direction. So we less the cash inflow or outflow. Think this is an outflow. And then this is equal to 27,000 times finding P given F at 25% at 5 plus the 185,400 annual cost multiplied by finding P given A 25% at 5. Minus, we have the downward annuities, 91,800 pesos, times finding P given a 25% at 5. So again, we deduct the capital investment at this first year because we have the amount coinciding to the present time, 270,000, and that is going down. So we denote negative. So from here, we can just calculate all the notation. Finding P given F 25% at 5 will be equal to 0.32768. And then finding P given A 25% at 5, that is 2.68928. We have the same here, notation 2.68928 minus 270,000. So therefore, the present worth will now be equal to negative 9,304.96 pesos. Since the present worth is negative, the investment is not justified. Now moving on to the future worth method. Again, we reflect all our cash inflows. On the cash inflows, we have a yearly collection or a yearly income revenue of 185,400. And on the last year, we have 27,000 as the salvage value, which is 10% of the first cost. So this is the annual revenues, and this is actually taxes and insurances amounting to 270,000 times 4%, 10,800. We also include here 81,000 as the operations and maintenance cost. Again, this will yield to 91,800 pesos. So again, we have here the capital invested on the present time, which is 270,000 pesos. So this 270,000 pesos will be brought to the future, okay, by having this amount multiplied by finding F given P 25% at 5. For the annual revenues, just the same, we are going to forward that to the future time. We have this annual revenues multiplied by the notation finding P given A 25% at 5. So for net annual cost, we do the same. We forward it to the future time by multiplying it by the notation finding F given A 25% 5. So we just perform a summation of the cash inflow to that of the cash outflow. Okay, so we now have the cash inflow. So here we have the 27,000 pesos is exactly at the future time. So we do not need to multiply any factor. So that is denoted by positive since it is going upwards. And we have a positive in cash flow for the annual revenues of 185,400 multiplied by this notation finding F given A 25% at 5. And then we less the cash flow that are going downward. First, we have the annual cash outflow of 91,800 pesos multiplied by this notation finding F given A 25% at 5. Then we less the first cost, which is situated or located at the beginning of the first period. We have 270,000, so that will be brought to the future by the factor finding f given p at 25% at 5. So we simply calculate all of the factors. So first, for the factor finding f given a 25% 5, we have that one to be equal to 8.2070. So that factor will be also multiplied to 91,800 pesos. And lastly, for the factor of single payment present or future worth factor, we have 3.052. So all of that would yield to a sum of negative 28,864.8 pesos. So it is observed that the future worth is negative, then the investment is not justified. Okay, so that is for the future worth method. So moving on to our last method, payback period method. So just the same, we reflect that into a cash flow diagram, reflecting first the cash inflow. So these are the annual collection or annual revenues, 185,400, together with the cash outflows, 10,800 derived from the taxes and insurance, which is 4% of the first cost, and the maintenance and operations cost of 81,000 pesos. So we can simplify the cash outflow by getting the sum, and that will be equal to 91,800 pesos. So the net annual cash flow now will be equal to the difference between these two, which is equal to 185,400 minus 91,800. Hence, we have here 93,600 pesos. Now, I want you to observe that your net annual cash flow calculation yielded to a positive. Okay? So, the payback or payout period will be equal to CO minus CL all over the net annual cash flow. Hence, by substitution, the original cost of 270,000 pesos less the 10% of this amount as the salvage value for the end of its useful life is 27,000 pesos divided by the calculated net annual cash flow of 93,600 pesos. So this will yield to 2.6 years. So notice that in this method does not reflect whether your investment is good or not. So it does nothing but to get or project the required time for the recovery of the capital. So another notation, the total annual cost does not include depreciation. Hence, the method does not consider time value of money. The use of this method for making investment decisions should be avoided as it may produce misleading results. Of course, we cannot see here a negative value. Hence, as presented earlier, we have a positive result for net annual cash flow. We have also observed earlier that most or all of our methods declared that the investment was not justified except for this method. So we can now observe that payback period method. I would like to stress this and reiterate this again, that this method does nothing, okay, does not present any feasibility of the investment or any evaluation of the investment, but It is purposively to determine the recovery period of the capital invested. Okay, so that's it for this method, and this ends our session for today. So next meeting, we will have more examples on the basic methods of economic studies. So thank you for listening and have a good day, everyone.